Now let's talk about knee collapse during a standing vertical jump. Okay, so we have this concept that your foot, your shin, and your thigh should like line up perfectly, right? That's an idea. However, most athletes, including great athletes, including healthy athletes, don't do that. All right, so what's the deal? First of all, I would say that our theoretical ideal should have a little more nuance than just everything is perfectly straight, right? I think the more detailed theoretical ideal should be that your knee would line up with where you're applying the most pressure on your foot. Okay, so in the case of a standing vertical jump, that would mean that we would start out, pretty much down the middle of the foot, but as we get to the inside of the foot to take off, because you're going to push off more of the big toe, your knees would actually come in a little bit and line up with your big toes. So a standing vertical jump would look like this. A repetitive jump where we're being faster off the ground is forefoot right away, so you're going to be pretty much lined up with the big toe right away. Then another example is moving forward in a rhythmic broad jump. So this foot contact actually starts with a heel strike, so you're going to start with the knees more down the middle of the foot, and then again they're going to move more towards the big toe as you get closer to toe off. So even within our theoretical ideal, I think we should expect at least a small amount of inward knee movement during 2-foot jumps. But most athletes during a vertical jump are going to move their knees in beyond their big toe. Okay, so then what we have is straight feet, or maybe even the feet start to turn out a little bit, but then the femur, the thigh, is turning in, and then the shin is kind of bridging the gap between the thigh and the foot. So it's turning in a little bit, but not as much as the femur. Okay, so I think this we can say is not ideal biomechanically, at least from a health standpoint. Okay, so for one, jumping like this over time is going to be more likely to lead to patellofemoral pain, because we have the patellar tendon kind of wrapping around a corner here, and so there's going to be some lateral force pulling on the patella. Okay, so more likely to lead to patellofemoral pain. But then also, this kind of mechanical trait here is something that shows up in ACL tears. All right. Now, that being said, you are not going to tear your ACL during a standing vertical jump. You're also not going to tear it during a 2-foot plyo, like a repetitive jump, okay? Highly, highly unlikely, all right? And also, since so many athletes display this small amount of knee collapse during 2-foot jumps, including good athletes, including healthy athletes, we have to acknowledge it actually just seems to be an effective propulsive strategy. So it may not be ideal for health, but it does seem to be an instinctive way to jump well for a lot of athletes. So I would say that I prefer that the knees are not caving in beyond where the big toes are. At the same time, if I see that happening in an athlete, I'm not terribly worried about it on 2-foot jumps. Depending on how extreme it is, I'm going to be more concerned with just getting their strength to body weight ratio up. That's a huge protector against injury, rather than being concerned about having like perfect biomechanics on 2-foot jumps. What does concern me is when these types of mechanics start to show up in your gait. Okay, you're walking and you're running. All right, I'll talk about that in the next video.